Stop the insanity. Get your focus back onto what really matters in life. Your faith, your family, your finances, and your future. Sit back, listen, and change the trajectory of your life. You are listening to the Money for Life podcast. Let's welcome your hosts, Teresa Kuhn and Rick Sapio.
Hello, everyone. This is Rick Sapio with my partner, Teresa Kuhn, and we are going to get in the arena. Teresa, read both of our favorite quotes.
I absolutely adore this quote, and it comes up for me quite often, especially when I hear a lot of criticism about people who are out there doing things. The armchair quarterback. It's by Teddy Roosevelt, who was our 26th president. And he says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat."
Awesome. Why do you like that quote so much?
You know, we talk about living a life fulfilled and living a full life. In the word fulfillment is full. And it just goes along perfectly with that. You know, the mentors that I've had, the coaches that I've had, the people in my life who've made the most impact are those that are out there and they're in the arena. And I've seen them fail forward. And I've seen them try things and keep beating that drum and beating that drum and beating that drum. And they're not beating that drum perfectly every single time. They're not in rhythm every single time. And they still move forward and accomplish great things. And I see the criticism from the spectators and others. And so I get to see both perspectives and think, you, spectator, what are you doing? What are you contributing? How convenient for you to sit back and let life pass you by and criticize the man in the arena. And I want to be that man in the arena. I don't want to be the spectator. I have no interest in being the spectator.
So Teddy Roosevelt created that quote because he saw society was failing in many ways. Birth rates were down. He saw that people started becoming way more critical in media of other people that were doing great things or attempting to do great things. And he created this quote to try to jumpstart the old culture of America, you know, land of the free, home of the brave, work hard, build a family, etc. And he was purposeful in that. And it's ironic that this quote is still being talked about decades later. There's a woman named Sarah Blakey who started a company called Spanx from scratch. And as the story goes, she went to 180 retailers to sell her new sportswear or underwear. And everybody said no. But Sarah's parents instilled in her failure. And this quote, her father would ask her at dinner when she was a young girl, "What did you fail at today?" And I ask my kids, what did you fail at today? Because if you're in our family, we fail a lot. And you said it, Teresa, we fail forward. So Sarah Blakey learned how to fail. And if she didn't learn how to fail, she would have never built Spanx. And she's worth over $2 billion. And I think that's a lot of money. At least it sounds like a lot of money.
Sarah could have just come to me directly and I would have bought from day one. As soon as Spanx was on the market, I was buying them. They're fantastic, right? Every woman understands that today. It's just a different way of wearing a girdle from the old days, right?
I think they're great myself. I'm wearing some Spanx right now because I looked down and I didn't like what I saw.
It just makes you look better. And you do talk about this at home with your kids. I've been there. I've been in the dinner table ritual. And my son, actually, I'm a very quirky person. If you hang out with me any amount of time, and Rick, you have, you see I'm quirky. Like you see me on paper, you see what I've accomplished, then you see me how I live. And there's a quirkiness there. And my son will say sometimes, like if we're out traveling or something, he's like, how do you ever make it home? Like, how are you living like this and you still accomplish things? And I always tell him, I'm like, see how together you are and see what I've accomplished. You could accomplish so much more than me. This should encourage you, because I feel forward. When I was younger and I wasn't as confident, it was tough to get me back in the arena, knowing my quirkiness.
The cool thing about you is you're always willing to learn. You look at criticism as a learning opportunity. Most people shrink. So hats off to you.
I have been known to shrink for sure early on. You know, when I spoke on your stage, the way you have your speakers show up is very different than what I was used to. I was used to having my PowerPoint and presenting from a PowerPoint. And in that conference that you had me speak at, you had world-class speakers on there. I remember sitting in my chair and we had conversations beforehand. And you were like, are you sure you can do this? Are you okay? You know, I've got really great speakers. And I'm like, sure, no problem. And the first night, I remember Friday night, I'm watching the speakers. They're world-class. And I am shrinking in my seat going, oh my gosh, what did I just agree to do? I'm not even the same planet as these speakers. What'd you have? A gentleman who, Bo Eason, he was the Broadway solo performer of the decade. And I think I followed him. Not good.
Here's the thing I've always loved about the opportunity I got in life over the last 20 years to hire a lot of speakers. I've hired, probably 500 speakers in my life. And I give them feedback before, during, and after. And so many people that, they're highly paid, I put my arm on their shoulders. I said, I'm going to give you some feedback before you get on the stage. Here's what I want you to do. And the good ones are like, give it to me. And the egotistical ones are like, what do you know about this? I'm like, what do I know? I put on a lot of events and I've helped a lot of speakers become famous. And you have a learner's mind, which I love. I think everybody listening here, if you want to be the man or woman in the arena, you have to have a learner's mind as opposed to a knower's mind. And unfortunately, the vast majority of the world are knowers. We want to know before we start a podcast, what are you going to get out of it? Well, the big distinction here is we want you to play a life on the field. We want you to be marred with blood and sweat, but we want you to be an open vessel, open to learning new information. If you're a knower, it's not going to work. And so that's the distinction. I love the story of the old professor in Cambridge. He had discovered that this spiritual monk in India was still alive, and he lived up in this high mountain retreat. After studying his version of philosophy, he decided he needed to meet this old mystic. And so it was in the 50s, and it was a horrific trip. He took a plane to a plane to a plane to a boat, rode on horseback up this mountain retreat. It took him like a week to get there. He finds his way in front of this massive castle where this old monk lived. It was an old castle. Knocks on the door and he sees this very simple man answer the door. And he says, I'm here to see the doctor. And this old man, walks him back to a room. And he sits him down, and the guy's like sweat, and he's got this big briefcase. He's got all kinds of papers on him. And the old doctor came in to meet the professor. And the professor says, I've studied your works for years, for decades. I've read all your books. I actually have a theory of my own that I want to share with you. And as he was talking, the doctor stood up and he started pouring him a cup of tea. And he was pouring the cup of tea, and the tea was rising, and the professor kept talking. And the old doctor was pouring the tea, and soon the tea got really high and started overflowing over the side of the cup. And the professor jumps up and he says, Doctor, my cup is full. And the old doctor said, I know, please leave. And so what that story demonstrates is most of us, we're full. We're not really open. And it's more important what you get rid of mentally and in your life than what you add and what you accumulate. So I think that's a brilliant story for all of us. It's a metaphor for all of us. But I just want to share one thing that I've taught my kids. And it came full out when the Super Bowl was on last year. And we got invited, because we don't have a TV, we got invited to a friend's house. My kids were kind of bored watching the Super Bowl, because I taught them, I'm like, you see all these people watching, sitting on their couch with their remote in their hand? They're in the stands. Who are they watching? And my son would say, they're watching the men on the field. And I'm like, where do you want to be, in the stands or on the field? And they got that distinction really early in life. If you're in our family, you play on the field. And that's a great distinction.
I shared the same thing with my son when I was raising him. And if somebody was to ask me for advice, unsolicited parenting advice, it would be definitely that one. And the other one is not celebrating your child for being so smart. It's about celebrating your child that they're curious, that they have an open mind, that they look at different perspectives, that they keep working at something and they do multiple iterations of something instead of saying, oh my gosh, you're so smart, or oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. It's about curiosity, keep trying, keep working, never giving up, failing forward. Those are the compliments and encouragements that we should be giving our child, not the false sense of self-esteem because they just show up for nothing.
You brought up a good point about that when you have to praise kids for working hard, not for producing the result. And in our family, we have a motto, we don't quit. And so when we signed up for karate and jujitsu when our kids were 4, each one, when they turned 4, they got the opportunity. And for eight and a half years now, they do karate and jujitsu 3 times a week. If you're in our family, you don't quit. And so that's how we handle chess and musical instruments and activities. So it makes you much more careful what you're going to bring into your life if you don't quit. A lot of parents do the exact opposite. Try this and try that and try this and try that. And what they're doing is they're creating shorter attention spans and less commitment, because commitment means when the going gets really hard, I'm still going to keep going and I'm still going to keep failing. And through failure, I will get better. And that plays right into this. So do you want to be in the stands because you tried multiple times and it didn't work out? Or do you want to be on the field showing hard work demonstrated in front of a crowd over multiple years and multiple failures? And that, to me, is what life is all about. Teddy Roosevelt, I didn't realize till we were researching this podcast that he created this quote intentionally. I don't know how long he labored over it, but it's such a powerful quote. Every word, I'm sure he focused on for hours. Is that the right word?
It's not the critic who counts. And how many people in this world are critics? There are more critics than men in the arena. Daring greatly, dare to show up and to want something great. It's a beautiful, beautiful quote. And it covers every area of life that we talk about here at Money for Life: faith, family, finances, and your future self. You can be the man in the arena in each one of those areas. One of my favorite quotes, all-time quotes.
Well, thank you for bringing it to the fore. And I hope everybody got a tremendous amount out of this. Play this for your kids. Share this video with people in your life. Share this podcast if you don't have the video in front of you. Just share it with people, because what it's going to do is it's going to help people to realize that the perspectives that they have right now may not be perspectives that are helping them have total life fulfillment and helping them play full out in the arena with blood and sweat marred all over their faces. Have an awesome day. Thanks for listening.
You have just experienced Money for Life. Implement these strategies today and create a life by design. Have a blessed day.